What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. As you can see, we're going to be talking about the new, cleanest looking glaive inside of Destiny, that Vexcalibur, Vex looking just gnarly Void Exotic Glaive that was entered this week with a nice secret mission that starts in the Gulch on the EDZ. So we'll be going over the little mission that we get, entering that, and of course going over the intrinsic and exotic perks on this bad boy, with more to come, just like Revision 0 was last season with our Operation Seraph Shield. We'll be going through this mission multiple times in the weeks to come to get its enhanced intrinsic traits as well as its extra catalysts. So to start off, like I said before, we're heading on over to the Gulch in the EDZ, where we have to collect these 6 Vex nodes around the area, which give us coordinates to a secret cave, which once we collect all 6, it'll actually allow us to open up a wall inside of this cave and progress to unlocking the mission. So the order to finding these really isn't too bad. The 6th one is the hardest one to find, so it has been playing for y'all, with the final one being inside of these trees and up in the mountains a little bit. But once you unlock all 6 and collect them, you head on over to this little cave right here, where you unlock that wall, like I said, progress into this cave on the EDZ, and you find our friendly harpy from way back in the day in D1, leading us into our exotic mission called Node Overload Avalon. Now this mission right here is not too shabby to go through solo or with a team. That multiplicity definitely does scale, especially in the legendary version, but this glaive is definitely worth it, and like I said, have multiple catalysts and enhanced intrinsic traits for this weapon based on the weeks to come. So once you unlock this mission by reaching our harpy, we can head in there, and after we complete it, we do actually get the glaive in its base form, craftable and reshapeable, everything like that. Now, like I said, this mission is very fun in my personal opinion. It is an interesting Vex Conflux Network Infinity Forest Season of the Splicer deal that we have right here. So we're going to go over each of the little steps. It's not too crazy going through it, like I said, and we will have to go through it multiple times a week on Legendary to get those catalysts, and just normal to progress through the story. So to start off, just like most of our missions, we start in this area of the Vex network and have to bob and weave through the Vex milk and a little jumping puzzle, if you would call it that, into our first area where it opens up and we dealing with Vex and our first mechanic. Now this mechanic is used pretty much throughout the rest of this mission as well, and it's not too gnarly. All we have is that Vex conflux in the middle, and you will see it, it'll rotate shapes between a triangle, a diamond, and a square. Now you have to shoot these in a certain order, which yesterday we didn't have any triangles at all, so it's basically all squares and diamonds that you have to shoot to progress to the next area. Now to find the order of this conflux that you have to shoot around the area that you're in, since it is limited by a Vex gate, which is what the conflux is for, you will see a code of these crystals floating in the area. They are stationary in that moment. Now this will be a code that you have to shoot from top to bottom in those whatever shapes they are in that code, and it starts out with shooting 3, then it moves up to 4, and finally you have to shoot 5. After you shoot that 5th one in the order, you will unlock the Vex gate, moving on to the next area where we have to deal with more Vex, and just repeat that process a couple more times to unlock those Vex conflux, where we bring down the Vex shield and we can move into the next area where we have to deal with more Vex, finally reaching our first boss arena. Now inside of this arena, we're playing a little bit of Gambit with some Vex, as well as dealing with some of those gigantic chickens in the arena. But it is a similar thing. We wipe out enemies in this area, pick up those motes to a certain number. On the left side of the screen, you'll see the number of those data pads or Vex that you need to defeat and turn into the conflux to unlock it. Once you unlock it, there will be a countdown for when the shield goes up, and you actually just teleport back on top of the same platform, but it is a rinse and repeat for a couple of those turns until we deal damage with our first boss, and it is a 2-phase boss. So once you unlock the boss and it shows up, the gigantic Hydra, this will just be damage it until it goes away again, and then it's a rinse and repeat. Defeat Vex in that arena to collect those motes to a certain number, turn them into the conflux so it'll open up, hide inside of that little barrier for a second until everything is gone with the counter. You reset and rinse and repeat with that number continuously rising with the motes that you have to deposit in the Vex conflux until that giant Hydra reappears. Wipe it out, and we are moving on to our final boss with just a little jumping puzzle in between. Now this final boss, once we complete that jumping puzzle, getting to the final arena, takes us back to the Pyramidian strike back on Io with Asher Muir. Nothing too crazy about the intro part of this fight, just have to deal with a bunch of waves of Vex while our boss teleports from the 3 corners of the triangle. Well, he's going to be shooting at you as well, so just damage the boss enough where it actually disappears and you head through this Vex teleporter at the front of the room where our real boss fight kind of truly begins. So during this, we're using that same mechanic that we used at the very beginning with shooting a certain order of this Vex crystals, if you will, or shapes to unlock the conflux and let down the big shield that the boss is hiding behind. First off, we have to defeat a mini boss in that Hydra form. Pretty gnarly to defeat them. There's Cyclops and also Wyverns running around, so this arena gets absolutely gnarly. But it is a rinse and repeat of defeat those Vex. The code of those shapes will pop up on one of the edges of the map, kind of down through this glass. So same order, shoot from the top down on that center pillar in the middle with the conflux, deleting each crystal as you shoot them on the conflux, and once you shoot that 5th one, the boss will unlock so you can do more damage. Same thing, once its second health bar goes away, it'll go back behind that shield, rinse and repeat, dealing with a bunch of harpies around with that giant Hydra, Wyverns, and Cyclopses. So there is a lot of enemies in this area, but once you keep shooting those crystals and defeating the Vex in the area and unlock that shield, you defeat our boss, and that is it. Bada bing, you completed your exotic mission and you get your Vexcalibur glaive at the very end as a drop. Now this is in its very base form, so we have a little extra steps to complete the intrinsic enhanced as well as our first catalyst, which is available this week. So after heading to the war table, you get a quest right here that involves using the glaive to defeat Vex around the system. This will charge it up and allow us to actually get a mod on the weapon that is called Authoritative Override. This is a mod that we are going to use inside of the Avalon mission to get certain areas unlocked that we didn't before. So it's basically raising these gates that we couldn't see beforehand with this mod to unlock the enhanced intrinsic traits for this weapon. Now for the catalyst, all you have to do is complete the legendary version of the mission, and at the end that boss will drop the retrofit. So all you got to do is go on over to the throne world and craft it. So once we craft it right here, this is what we have for our intrinsic trait with that M1 distribution. Fires a spread on its shot, not a bolt like normal. Equipped with a quick draining shield, blocking damage with your shield gradually bestows an overshield on yourself and nearby allies. So it's very good for keeping you alive. Now on top of that, we have our exotic perk right here, Perpetual Loophole. So dealing additional melee damage while protected by that overshield, which you blocked to obtain. Defeating targets with the melee final blow while overshield is active will refresh it, so it's a nice perpetual, like it says, loop of having that overshield by blocking, and then you're able to do melee damage with this weapon to have that perpetual loop keep on giving you overshield back. Now for our first catalyst that we have on this, called Immovable Refit right here, dealing range damage, grants increased energy while stationary and your shield is raged. So this will just help give us that energy for giving us overshield with that ranged attack. I definitely think that this thing is going to be super good on our Titans with our Synthoceps to give it that extra melee damage, and even something with volatile rounds in our Hunter, Falcon's Hubric in that chest piece. So very good Void synergy, and with the update to the mod system, very easy to get a lot of our mods activated. So hopefully that helped you guys out get that first catalyst as well as that first intrinsic trait and unlocking the weapon here, with weeks to come for sure, just like the Revision 0 last week. So thank you guys so much for the support and watching. Truly appreciate it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.